This video is going to go over our oil pastel value scale on our worksheet. So we can see I already have numbers 1 and 2 done. We're moving on to number 3, oil pastels. So we do have a few examples that are in BB9 that show different color combinations. Some oil pastels show different textures than others depending on how they're applied, what colors you're mixing together. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is try as many different color combinations and practices as possible between your worksheet, starting here, and then using the extra value scales or extra paper that you have. Any paper is fine to continue practicing with so that you can decide what colors are going to work best together and which ones will work best for your project. So I have 3 different colors picked out here. I have my scrap paper that I've been working with next to me. This is going to help me clean off some of my supplies as well. I also have a paper towel. Now I'm going to use this for a few things today, and I think the ones at school work the best for a few things I'm going to do today. If it's too soft and flaky, then the material might not work the best. So you're going to have to find things at home to use if that's where you're working when you're using oil pastels. So when I'm ready to get started, the instructions here say choose 2 to blend together. So I have my 2 colors, red and orange. And then consider the color scheme for this unit. So if I know I'm going to use more cool colors, I want to continue to do that in my practice. But if I'm not sure, I want to try all of the color combinations that I possibly can. It says 1 color blends into the second color. So for example, red would blend into light red, then orange, light orange, and then to orange. Optional would be to use white to help the colors blend and use black to make shades of that color. The advanced options would be 3 to 4 colors that blend together. So I would just start with 2 and go from there. I have my white oil pastel here to help me blend afterwards, which is optional, so you can do that or choose not to. So one thing I want to do right away is clean off my oil pastels. So that's what I'm using this paper towel for, at least in the beginning. And then for this white one, I'm noticing it's not as soft, so like it's not turning in my paper, and it's not getting as clean. So what I'm gonna do is just use a space on the scrap paper and just twist it around, and the paper is gonna pick off the imperfections. So I wanna go around the top and a little bit along the sides, because if I'm using this like I write with my pencil, some of this color from the sides might get on there. This is very normal. It's going to happen to your oil pastels. So you just have to be patient, clean them off when you're ready to use them. And then it's easier just to kind of throw them in a bag together, because you know it's just gonna happen. So I'm gonna choose the color that I want to start with, and I'm gonna start with my orange. And I'm gonna apply it kind of the same way I have been so far with this idea of dark to light. So this is gonna be my dark edge. And it's more of an orange than a red. It looks darker here. So that's one thing that's gonna be great to help us test colors out on our scrap paper first. I wanted more of a red, but I'll use this for now. So I'm gonna try and stay in the lines as much as possible, but honestly, for this first practice, my first goal is gonna be to get my colors to blend well. And then after that, I can continue to practice with craftsmanship more. So I know that this edge is gonna be my darkest value of oil pastel. So I'm just gonna fill it in by pressing with my orange. And then, maybe about here, I'm going to start to get a little bit lighter. So I'm just pressing lightly, and it's gonna look kind of grainy. And that grainy look is gonna go at least halfway, if not a little bit more. I can always add more afterwards. Now it's time for my second color. I wanna test this and see if it'll be light enough. I think that'll be okay to mix these 2 together. I'd like to practice ones that are more extremely different, but this will be fine for my first practice. Then I can continue to practice with more colors that show more of a difference between them. So I'm gonna start to drag that lighter across the surface towards the middle, and I'm gonna start to kind of overlap it with my first color. All right, this side needs to get a lot darker. I'm gonna start filling it in. Then I'm going to come back with my original darker orange. Take that all the way over the top of the lighter orange. All right, so what I can do at this point is just continue to layer them as they mix, or start to mix them with some sort of tool. So for example, my finger could start to mix them together. In some colors, it works better to use your finger. Others, it might not. So this is gonna come off of my fingers. So you wanna watch where you're touching your paper. Like for practice, this would be fine. But on my summative work, I wanna know, okay, if something's on my hands, it's going to get off onto my final finished drawing. Another thing I could do is take paper towel, and this is where this like kind of more tough paper towel comes in handy. And I could blend with the paper towel. However, and this is what you're gonna start to notice right away, the paper towel really takes a lot of the oil pastel off of the paper. So now you can see how light this is getting. Now that could be a look that you want to have. So I could go all the way across here. Or maybe if it's taking too much off, I can always go back and add more. Right, so there are plenty of different looks you can get just based off of how you apply the oil pastel and then how you blend it after. So this might be perfect for what I want to do in my project. One of the examples that I have that's more like that is here with these two colors. Even as I touch the paper, it just feels like the paper. I can't really feel that oil pastel because the newspaper or paper towel took so much off. Where, like in this one, for example, you can see how thick that orange still is. So if I'm not happy with removing so much of it, this could be my time to go back and add. Now I could also show value with different drawing techniques. So my value does not always have to be smooth. Maybe I want to use hatching or cross hatching or stippling, which would take a lot of time, but it could be worth it to get the texture that you want. And then maybe I go ahead and do that on this side too. And we can use mark making and drawing techniques to also show value. So this is going from dark orange, kind of like a red orange, into a lighter orange. And it's still gonna show value by doing that. So I'm starting to overlap them, but it's not smooth anymore. This is something you can do with ebony pencil and colored pencils and oil pastels. Really, any art material does not have to be smooth to be considered showing value. So this could be another technique that I use to show more expression through my art. Now, one thing we haven't gone through is using the white colored pencil to help blend. So I could do this on my value scale, but since I've already done a few different techniques there, I want to do a little bit here on this scrap sheet of paper to show you what white can do to kind of help things blend together. So I'm doing the same kind of technique that I just did on my worksheet, dark to light from one end and then flipping it over to the other. Now I could take my white oil pastel or something close to white. Maybe it's a really light pink or even a peach. Those can work as well, but they're gonna leave a little bit of a different look. So I'm gonna take this over the top and I'm using it kind of like my blending stump, right? So it smooths things together for me. So if I notice that there's colors that I'm using that just do not blend well with my fingers blending them, maybe they don't blend well with the paper towel, white could be the next option that I try. You're gonna try and find a solution to make this work. So what I'd encourage you to do is try these techniques on as many value scales as you can. If you run out here, you can start to do this on your scrap paper or your sketch paper that you have in your binder. So I hope you enjoy the messiness of oil pastels and try as many color combinations as you can.